Hey guys, so glad you're back to Behavior Strategies for Class. So today I'm talking with Andrew Smith. He is the school counselor, the behavior coach, the behavior expert. And so we are talking today about improving social awareness in your classroom. And why is this important? And a few points we hit on are the dynamics of your class family, the differences that you have in your class family, and how you begin to be socially aware by being self-aware. So you start to see, well, what is unique about me? And what am I good at? And then you can start to be socially aware of your classmates and how do they all fit in? Even though you guys are all different, all your students are all different. And that helps your students become then to be empathetic when they can understand where another student is coming from. And so they learn social cues and having that inclusion in your classroom and knowing, like, especially now in the holidays, some students don't celebrate Christmas, some celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever other holiday is coming, or you have students who don't celebrate any holidays during this time. And so this is a great time to teach your students to be empathetic, to celebrate the uniqueness and the differences that you have, because that's exactly how God created all of your students special and unique, and that they would learn to embrace that as they become more self-aware, and then also to embrace that in your class and watch your students just shine and connect and grow, not only individually but as a whole and as a class. And that is super awesome to watch, so you won't want to miss this episode. But before we get started, I want to encourage you to join my Facebook group, Behavior Strategies for Class. There are a lot of amazing educators there. And then also hit that subscribe button, share this episode, share this podcast so that other educators can continue to learn and grow as well. Welcome to Behavior Strategies for Class. I am Diane Bachman, your behavior paraprofessional with over 15 years of experience working in special education. And I'm so glad you're here because I'll be teaching you about social emotional learning, behavior strategies, trauma-informed care, and more. So if you are tired of being frustrated and not knowing what to do with your students who have challenging and disruptive behavior, you're in the right place. Now, if you're ready to become more equipped to help your students learn and grow, let's listen in to today's episode. Hey guys, welcome back to Behavior Strategies for Class. We are here again with Andrew Smith, our behavior expert extraordinaire. And today we are talking about social awareness. And why is social awareness important for our students? Should we be teaching them social awareness? As this month we've been talking about social emotional learning. And that's why today we are talking about being socially aware. And today it's really specifically in the classroom. How can students be socially aware when they are in the classroom, Andrew?
Yeah. Social awareness is one of the biggest parts about just being aware of all the different parts that make up a family, like a classroom family, right?
Yeah.
Why, all the different ways that a person can contribute in their own way, whether through their own, diversity, their own just approach and perspective, right? So that social awareness, just being aware that other people are different. And
Mhm.
when we talk about classrooms, we always talk about, I mean, we talk about the connection and the families and everything. And,
Right.
that's part of it, is knowing that like um, somebody's going to approach things from a different point of view than I am. And making that awareness happen starts in phases. One of the biggest parts is having your own self-awareness of what do I have to offer? Where am I unique? And so building that self-awareness is huge. And that's where a lot of our kids are on that journey in their life is discovering what they're good at. Am I good at math? Do I really love
Right.
history? Can I spout facts like no other for science, right?
Yeah.
Or am I the next Billy Shakespeare, right? Um, so that's that awareness that's really developing. And so harnessing that to then turn that from that compassionate side where they have awareness of themselves and, some recognition of others to empathy. And the empathy is that I can appreciate, I can see, I am aware of your uniqueness that comes with you. And so that's one of those building blocks as a community, not just out inside the classroom, but outside the classroom as well, with the rest of the
Right.
school too. What are the unique parts that I offer that everybody else can learn from? So that's one of the biggest important parts about social awareness is it helps develop and helps enrich your learning community from the classroom through the rest of the school.
Yeah, because as you know, we all can see we are all different. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different cultures and traditions. And especially now during the holidays, I think is a great time to really bring that back to that social awareness and knowing like, Johnny may celebrate, a Jewish holiday instead, or they don't celebrate any, holiday, and being able to empathize and still be kind without, um, making a big deal out of it. Like some students will still be like, you don't believe in Santa Claus? Even that, it could be a cultural thing where, they never grew up with Santa Claus or whatever it is. And just showing that empathy. And also, that just reminds me back to social cues. And that goes like reading the room, or if you're sharing about Santa Claus and maybe somebody gets really quiet or walks away, or I don't know, but understanding those cues, like maybe that's not the time you need to be talking about that, and bringing it back and seeing how is everybody, taking this or understanding this. What are your thoughts on social cues, Andrew?
Absolutely. I mean, if you want to talk about inclusion, which is such an important part of a classroom community,
Right.
um, recognizing whether somebody's comfortable or not, or whether they want to share their own side of it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they don't believe in Santa Claus, but maybe they celebrate St. Nicholas, right? And the
Yeah.
Feast of St. Nicholas is prior to what, Christianity, Christmas, right? Maybe they're Eastern Orthodox, and there's different ways they perceive some of the different intermissionaries and whatnot, intersaries. Sorry, that was my Catholic upbringing
Missionaries. Uh-huh.
would not be happy with me messing that phrase up. Or maybe there's some
Oops.
different religion, that cultural perspective, right? Of
Yes.
that's a different, we're doing Rosh Hashanah. We're practicing some other parts of that. And that creates a different perspective and unique way to share celebrations and share those holidays that create the rituals that we all love about
Right.
different times, right? And one of the biggest parts that I love is sharing the food, right? That's an easy way to
Exactly.
explore all the greatness that comes from these celebrations because there's like 20 or 30 major holiday festivals and
Oh,
holiday celebrations
yeah.
that occur around I think this Thanksgiving through December and early January timeframe that just are packed with so much tradition and culture and history with them. And our kids come from a variety of different areas, right? The
Yes.
intersectionality of them, from mom's side and dad's side and grandma's side and, the area of the world. But there's also even just, whether they come from poverty, whether they come from upper class or middle class,
Right.
those all have implications of different celebrations too. I mean, growing up in a lower SES, in a poverty household, like we got one or two presents versus some of our friends who we went to Catholic school with that had a mountain of presents.
Yeah.
And then, those how that is affected can from your culture that creates that awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives you the different building blocks for different perspective taking, reading those cues from the classroom and from your friends and others to create an understanding of yourself in relation to others with that social awareness. And that's a key developmental block to be a successful adult.
I agree. And learning to embrace those differences, I think, is exciting to see. And that's creating that class culture, our a school culture, and being able to celebrate each other and not look down on each other. Like talking about Christmas, I know some friends, like they could not afford to have a Christmas tree. It goes to, and my mom always went all out on Christmas. And so I really do the same thing. And I was like, I caught myself actually with a friend of mine who like, oh no, like we never had a tree. And it was like, like that's horrible. Like, how did you survive? Where obviously people learn, you learn to make the best of what you have. And being able to celebrate each other, I think is super great to see. And I see that a lot in some of our classrooms, how they celebrate each other. And then that goes back to even academically, the culture I see in some classes where some students are struggling in an area where others are doing really well, and the teacher allowing those students to come alongside and help them out and not, again, not looking down on them, not getting irritated with them, but just like, how can I help you? Or, no, this is the way you do this. And I mean, it just brings those kids together again. Like you said, we talk about that connection, and it's not only connection with students and teachers, but students together being able to encourage and help each other. And that's just social awareness and seeing, oh, Johnny is struggling over here, maybe I can go help him. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on that, Andrew?
Well, oh no, absolutely. And that just reminded me of, there's long held research with Bandura is his name, with social learning theory of we're going to learn from peers more or from
Yeah.
social modeling and whatnot more than we do necessarily from, a textbook and things like that. Um, what I always love to do to try and challenge kids to develop this is collaborative problem solving. How do you
Yeah.
team up, have shoulder partners? How do you solve this problem? Or like
Yes.
you just said, purposeful pairing of students so that one might be a little bit weaker in one end and one might be a little bit stronger in another end, and so that they can learn from each other and they can grow together. Um, I always think of optical illusions. And that's something I love to do as a counselor of like, we post up a famous optical illusion of, I don't know, is it a bear or is it a frog or, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Who's right? And so you'll see that the kids will get really, really sure that they have the right part. I'm like, well, but let's shift this perspective. And for some of it's not a bear, it's a horse and a frog is a very famous one. And and you rotate it, and just the act of rotating the picture, and all of a sudden you can just see the light bulbs go off. I'm like, well, neither one of you were wrong. You were just seeing it from a different perspective. Or there's a very simple one that's must have been from the 70s of somebody drew either a 6 or a 9 on the ground and literally just having the students move from one side to
Oh,
another and just from the right side of the screen or the left side of the screen. Is it a 6 or a 9? Well, the answer is
oh,
there probably is a right answer, but we don't know what that is. We just know what we're looking at, where we're coming from. And so increasing that awareness helps us to problem solve of, this is where I'm at. I see that you're at a different spot. What is your perspective of it? And that perspective offers different problem solving, different learning, different experiences that make us better in the long run and to grow
yes.
together separately.
Yes, and that brings it up to that conflict resolution. So, like you said, you each have a different perspective on whatever it is they were working on. Maybe it's a group project, or maybe it's even just at recess, and what game are they going to play, and who's going to be what, and teaching them those skills, like how do you find a resolution without it becoming this blow up big explosion and where nobody's talking to whoever. Now you're fighting, you're arguing, you're yelling, being able to really, like you said, see from each side and then come to a compromise on where both sides could still benefit. So, what are your thoughts on then that conflict resolution?
I think it's key. It's grounded in that. I you know I'm always reminded of Kelso's Choice is just it was
Yeah.
a program, a social emotional program. It was, oh man, it like probably 15, 20 years old now. It's got a little frog and it's
Oh,
a little
yeah.
gimmicky, but it was because they made a wheel and they had role plays of just
Yes.
different recess things of like, okay, this is this person's idea, this is your person's idea, you have these choices, you can walk away, you can share and take turns and just talk to them and help them, give a framework for working a problem out, listening to the other person's side, working with them, or if they're not willing to work with you, then what, giving you some choices from that. From there, like, do you walk away? Do you go get an adult? Do you tell them to stop? And it gave, just gave a framework for seeing that different perspective and then where to go from there. So being able to hold that other person's idea of what's going on and what their truth is a pretty high order thinking. And so the fact that that a lot of our kids can do that is pretty amazing. It just goes to show that our kids are amazing. Just I don't have
They
much more
are.
than that. They're just amazing.
They
You
really
just
are.
listen to them. I hear you, but or I hear you and and different parts of that. Being able to speak their truth is pretty amazing.
Yes.
So it comes from the building blocks of empathy and perspective taking and social awareness of what are my limits, what are your limits, what do you add and what do I add to this world and to this classroom.
Right. Right. Yeah, again, it's that embracing that difference and teaching them this and letting them try and work it out first definitely grows their confidence and knowing they can do it. And as they build that confidence, we're helping to lay that foundation. And these are really life skills. Like our students obviously are going to eventually go out into the world. And if they don't know how to come up with a conflict resolution, like they're pretty screwed because that's going to affect their jobs, their future families, their future friendships. If they can't resolve and come to a compromise, how are they going to be successful? And if they don't know the social cues and if they're not socially aware of like what's going on around them, like how are they going to be able to engage and make a difference and encourage others? And so that's why I really feel like I know social emotional learning, like it's a buzzword, like, right? We're constantly saying it. SEL, like everybody needs to. And we keep saying it because it is so important to teach our students that they need to be socially
Absolutely.
aware, they need to be self aware, and how they interact and um, connect with each other will eventually is how they're going to make a difference in their future. So we
Absolutely.
will keep this short and sweet today because, it's near the holidays. We both have lots of stuff to do. Um, so what would be your closing remarks? Or actually, sorry, let me back up. What would be two ways besides what we talked about, the conflict resolution, um, and of course, I can't remember the other one, but how we can continue to teach our students to be socially aware?
Yeah. So there's a couple of different exercises, and I fished around for some thinking about this as well. I always do the optical illusions, and so any time you can have a fairly like middle of the road topic, maybe your high school, maybe your middle school or upper elementary, have them take a decisive side to that topic, and is grape jelly the best sandwich with a peanut butter? Or, are you more of an apricot, and why? And your perspective on it. There's also,
Mm-hmm.
the ability, if you have a pretty diverse crowd in your community, just to start sharing, like maybe have a food day. Maybe have maybe the writing assignment, the short essay, which come on, guys. I Not my favorite or not my specialty, but maybe you write a little bit about what your family's routines are and
Right.
rituals around the holidays, and how do you like to celebrate them, and even some other people, um, I'm thinking Jehovah's Witnesses and things like that, who
Mm-hmm.
have some very strict guidelines about how and
Right.
what they do. So being able to share that piece of them is super important. It's a piece of you that is so large that why wouldn't you? So there's some latitude for that too. Um, Another is to just talk through some different areas of where we align and where we're strong. So, um, an art exercise. How would you draw respect? How would you draw compassion? And then have an art walk about it. And so I think the particular exercise I looked at was split the class in half, and half that are on the artist side, they go stand by their painting, their drawing, whatever, and the
Uh-huh.
other half art walk, and then they have to give a compliment or an interesting thing that they noted about that person's, and then they switch and vice, and turn that the other way, vice versa. But
Mm-hmm.
the artist then do the art walk too. So there's different ways to foster that through some small exercises as you go along. And the other part is just modeling that yourself as a teacher, as an adult,
Right.
knowing where your limits are and how you recognize the strengths and the limits of others is so important. And, just why is that important? Well, think about project managers, think about anybody in a leadership ability. Like, they're going to want to know who their best people are for certain areas to be able to maximize their efficiency, their productivity,
Right.
whatever. Um, and that's where that self-awareness and that cultural awareness and social awareness all come together. When you're an older person like me, when you got a little bit of white in your hair or beard, if you don't, that's where it can all tie together to have a strong person, a strong leader, just a good human altogether.
Yes, exactly. Because, like I said, these really are all life skills. Your students are going to need these throughout their life, not just while they're in school. They're going to build on these, hopefully, and continue to grow in these areas as well. So awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate your time, your wisdom, your experience as always. And any other parting words before we go?
Nope, have a great turkey day if that's your thing. Otherwise, enjoy time and take care of each other.
Great. Thank you so much. We will see you next time.
Later, Kate.
Before you go, I do want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. And I hope that your house is full of love and joy and laughter with family and friends. And you count your blessings and find something to be thankful for. And one big shout out that I have to be thankful for is a new grandson. We are super excited to have our Ziggy in our family now with Zach and Zoe. And so it is super exciting and such a huge blessing to be able to celebrate a new life in our family. So, again, happy Thanksgiving from me to you and your family. and enjoy that special, precious time together. And I will see you next week. Thanks so much for listening. I truly appreciate your support. And if I have encouraged you, motivated you to continue to learn, to support your students, even better, to help them strive in your classroom, please leave a review, hit that subscribe button so that others can see they can learn and grow here as well. Thank you.